The head maid stepped forward, adjusting her glasses, and gave Daisy a final correction. She told her, "You should say, 'I shall see you.'" Then her expression turned serious. She explained that before Daisy could enter, she had to take a vow to her. A vow that she would never disclose any information regarding the master. Daisy's eyes widened slightly. The head maid continued, telling her that she would be casting the magic herself. She asked Daisy if she was all right with that. Daisy was visibly shocked. A thought bubble appeared with her inner monologue. She knows how to use magic too? In a smaller thought beside it, she added, "I never would have imagined it." The head maid calmly said, "Then let us begin." She raised her hands, and a massive, glowing red magic circle materialized in the air between them. The energy pulsed, wrapping around Daisy's body. The head maid spoke Daisy's full name, Daisy Pegger. She asked the formal question, "Do you agree to never disclose the secrets of the Weatherwoods family?" Daisy, bathed in the red magical light, clenched her fist and answered without hesitation, "I agree." The head maid lowered her hands, the magic fading. She looked at Daisy with a knowing gaze and said, "This is not your first vow, is it?" Daisy's face went still. A narration box appeared, explaining the nature of the spell. A vow is engraved upon the soul, not the body, so it does not disappear even if the body changes. Like a label that follows you for life. One that can never be erased. Daisy silently stared at her own hands, her reflection catching in a mirror beside her. The head maid smiled gently and told her she wouldn't ask any more questions. She added that she was sure those were things Daisy couldn't talk about anyway. She reached out, opened the door, and told Daisy to head inside. They walked down a long, dimly lit hallway. The head maid held a candle in one hand, its flame flickering in the darkness. She led Daisy toward a door at the end. She paused and said, "Come closer and show your respect, Ms. Daisy." Daisy stepped forward, her expression tense. The head maid reached out and slowly pulled back a curtain. She revealed a large glass case. Inside, resting on a white cushion, was a single, giant egg. The head maid announced, "This is Viscount Grey Weatherwoods." Daisy stared at the egg, completely dumbfounded. A flashback cut to her sitting in the garden, staring at her flower pot. She had the same blank, bewildered expression. The narration played over her thoughts. She prided herself on having met a wide variety of people in her time. On the battlefield, she had encountered many connections she might only see once in a lifetime, but she swore on her life seeing an egg was a first. The head maid began explaining the situation. This egg was the successor, personally handed over to her by the master 4 years ago. A small chibi cut-in showed the head maid as a younger woman, holding a smaller egg with a note reading, "He was smaller than a chicken egg back then." She clarified that therefore, he was the legitimate heir, who also held the title and estate of the Rosebell family. She pointed to a large portrait of a handsome blonde man and a stern-looking woman in green. The head maid explained that the egg had been left to the former Viscountess, Annette Rosebell. However, she added a major complication. Count Rosebell was still in good health, and the funds were tied up due to a prenuptial agreement. Daisy's face darkened with understanding. The head maid concluded her theory. Perhaps that wealth was exactly what the assassins were after. Daisy's expression turned sharp and calculating. She looked around the manor. The narration continued. This house, which looks like it has no money at all? She thought about the Count. If they were talking about Count Rosebell, a veteran who roamed the battlefield alongside the swordmaster, then things were complicated. No matter how much he grieved his daughter, he wouldn't just stand by if he knew assassins were threatening his heir over an inheritance. Daisy stood in front of the glass case, staring at the massive egg. She paused, then turned to the head maid and asked, "So, is the master inside the egg?" The head maid adjusted her glasses and answered, "Presumably. You can feel a heartbeat if you touch it." A diagram appeared, showing the egg's growth over time, from 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters, and finally to 13 centimeters. The head maid explained, "Seeing as it grows with each passing year, perhaps the egg acts as a protective shield?" Daisy stared at the egg, her mind wandering to a very strange possibility. She asked out loud, "What if a giant chicken is born instead?" A hilarious mental image popped up of the Viscount as a giant, regal chicken wearing a red cape, pecking the ground and clucking. I am Viscount Weatherwoods. Caw, caw, cluck, cluck. The head maid immediately snapped, a visible anger mark popping on her face. She yelled, "Miss Daisy." Daisy snapped out of her daydream, sweating nervously, while the head maid glared at her. Daisy quickly dismissed the thought and went back to her room. She looked down at her terracotta pot. A tiny green sprout had finally broken through the soil. She thought to herself that the most plausible theory was indeed the head maid's, that the Viscount was being protected inside the shell. She wondered when he would wake up. She smiled to herself and thought, when he does, I'll be sure to ask him to hire me as a maid for life. She glanced back at the tiny sprout. A thought bubble popped up. By the way, a sprout has finally appeared. What should I name it? Her expression softened into a melancholic one as she added, "Can someone like me, who might only have 3 years left, even dare to give something a name?" Just then, Lou's voice called out from behind her. He was standing by the doorway, smiling. He told her to hurry and come for lunch, adding that if she was late, they were going to eat it all themselves. Daisy suddenly remembered her earlier thought. She called out to him, "I've picked a name." Lou paused and turned back, a question mark appearing above his head. Daisy proudly held up the pot and announced, "Lou, the plant." Lou blinked. He smiled and said, "Well now, that's a very familiar name." He leaned in playfully and teased her, "Are you planning to openly be my fan now?" Daisy shook her head. She said, "No. I just thought if I named it after you, you might take care of it even when I'm gone." She then asked him directly, "Hey Lou, how do you like the name? Do you like it?" Lou's smile widened. He asked her, "Do you like it enough to hug and kiss it?" Daisy's face went blank with confusion. Lou quickly added, "Lou, the plant, I mean." Daisy's eye twitched. She deadpanned. "What?" She looked down at the pot and muttered, "This crazy chef." The head maid walked over, holding a tray of food. She mediated the situation, saying, Now, let's just eat." She turned to Lou and scolded him, and "Mr. Lou, stop teasing Miss Daisy." Daisy sat down, still fuming internally. She told herself, "Right, I shouldn't let myself be caught up in his pace." The head maid then turned to her and asked, "All right. Miss Daisy, could you buy some sewing thread after we finish eating?" Daisy nodded and agreed. Lou sat opposite her, eating his soup with a smug grin. He added, "While you're at it, buy some ingredients other than just potatoes." He took a spoonful of soup and said, "To raise Lou, the plant, well, Miss Daisy needs to eat a balanced meal and stay strong too." Daisy's eye twitched again. A tiny spark of realization appeared in her head as she admitted to herself, "He has a point." Later, Daisy walked through the bustling town streets. Colorful festival banners were strung across the buildings. 2 children ran past her, playing pretend. One boy shouted, "I'm Commander-in-Chief Raffaello." The girl beside him yelled back, "Then I'll be Lady Natasha." Daisy watched them run off, then looked around. She thought to herself, "It's quite noisy. Is there a festival going on?" She passed by a shop window and caught a glimpse of a newspaper on display. The headline read, "Weekly Midwintry, 4th Anniversary of Peace Day Celebration. Grand Duke Raffaello to be absent this year." Daisy froze. Her eyes widened. A massive shockwave burst from her as her inner voice screamed, "Rafa. Ella?"